Hello, Badass Branding Society members. I am excited to be here to talk about astrology and branding, two of my favorite topics. So I'm going to just adjust my camera here while we wait for some people to get on. To hop on. If anyone is here and is going to be watching. How are you guys doing? How are you enjoying this space so far? It's been about a week since I really started implementing these new ideas into this space. And I've been in here more than usual, so, well, than I have in the past few months. It feels good, and it's exciting to see some of you becoming re-engaged and new people joining. So, yeah, I'm hoping to just continue on this train and see where things go. It feels exciting and also a little scary. But, you know, I'm just gonna stick with it and just be consistent and commit to following my inspiration one step at a time. So, yeah, I really am excited about talking about astrology and how I use it in my business and in my brand. This idea for a live was inspired by someone who asked me a question on Instagram actually last week, and they asked me what tools I use to track the planets and all of that good stuff. So I wanted to talk about that, and I also wanted to talk about how I use astrology generally every day in building my brand and in my business, and how I use it with my clients as well in my program. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I guess to get started, I want to put a disclaimer that I by no means consider myself to be a professional astrologer. I am only self-taught in what I know, and what I intuitively use and perceive with astrology, and I am still very much a student of this school of knowledge that is astrology. It's a very complex thing. There's lots of different aspects to it, and so I am just still learning these for myself. So I by no means am like a certified, accredited professional astrologer. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But that being said, I'm happy to talk about like how my experience with learning astrology and how I use it. So the first thing that I would suggest before you start using astrology to apply it to your brand and your business is to get to know your own chart. Get to know yourself astrologically. So we all know pretty much what our sun sign is. That is, you know, your horoscope, the month that you were born correlates to a specific sign. Mine is Scorpio because I was born in November, so that's my sun sign. And that's kind of like the one thing that everyone pretty much knows about themselves astrologically. But there is a whole lot more to us than just our sun sign. We actually have an entire horoscope built around the exact time, place, and my cat is scratching, sorry, he's distracting me. The exact time, place, and space that we were born, the planets were in a particular position in the sky, and that dictates what our horoscope is. And every person for that is different. So in addition to your sun sign, you actually have you know, your moon sign and your Venus sign and your Mercury sign and what and that all depends on what sign those particular planets were in at the time that you were born. So if you, and each of the planets respond to a different aspect or different quality of something. So for example, Mercury is the sign of communication primarily. It governs other things, but it's primarily known as the planet of communication. So depending on what zodiac sign your Mercury is in your birth chart is going to dictate how you communicate. So for example, my Mercury is in Libra, and so the way that I communicate with others is very diplomatic. It's usually very objective. Oh my god, there's those words again. Objective. I like to see all sides of the story. I like everything to be, you know, to be discussed fairly, and I like to hear both sides, and it's very diplomatic in the way that I communicate with others. And that's like totally different from like my sun sign, which is Scorpio. So even though, so all of these different aspects come into play to create, in a sense, your personal brand. Like I consider my chart my expression of my personal brand, and I use those aspects within my chart to explore those things that I can then express outwardly. So that's fun. So that's like the first part. So I would say if you are just new to astrology and you are wanting to incorporate it into your brand and your business, but you don't know where to start, I would say like get to know your chart a little bit. And you can do this in a number of ways. You can go to astro.com, astro.com, and there's like a free birth chart. Oh my god, I cannot speak today. There's a free birth chart tool that you can use. So you need to know what time you were born in order to know what your rising sign is and the houses that all of the planets are in. But if you don't know the time that you were born, you can just put in the date. It might be a little bit off, it might not be exactly, but at least you'll get something. So you put in the time, the place, the year, the day, the month that you were born, and then it calculates everything for you. So it'll show up in like a chart form, and you'll be able to see like your sun sign, your moon sign, your Mercury, Venus, Mars, all of that good stuff. And I'm more than happy to like go into more specifics about what each of the planets and the signs might mean. So if there's any questions about those, please feel free to ask anytime. And just get to know you astrologically, get to know your chart a little bit more. And as you continue to learn about astrology as it relates to business and branding, you'll understand how to use it better once you kind of know who you are. So that's the first thing. And then the second part is, in addition to the planets being in different signs at the time that you were born, the planets are in a particular placement right now in the sky. So you get to look at that part, and that's kind of more like the real-time astrology, and then you get to kind of compare it to how that affects your personal chart. So the second thing that I do with astrology and how I relate it to my brand and my business is to keep track of where the planets are at. And I would say the most powerful one that I use is the moon, because it has a quick cycle, so it moves around the earth fairly quickly, and it's moving through different signs. So the moon lasts about 2.5 days in each sign. And I am also a person who is very, very sensitive to energy. And so when the moon is in a particular sign, I feel it. I feel it very strongly. And so I use that to kind of help guide me towards what I'm focusing on in my brand and in my business. So for example, as the moon is moving through different signs, I focus my energy on what those signs are most supportive in helping me do for my business at the time. So for example, when the moon is in a water sign, when it's in Scorpio, when it's in Pisces or Cancer, I am more likely going to feel pretty emotional. And so that is a good time for me to kind of go in and really reflect intuitively on what I'm doing in my business, maybe kind of revisit my strategy. And also it's a really good time for me to be creating, because I am more likely to be creative when the moon is in a water sign. And then when the moon is moving through a fire sign, so when the moon is in Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries, I'm more likely to be supported in taking action, because fire is all about action, about passion. It's also about creativity. So I could see myself being very creative when the moon is in a fire sign, but I'm more likely to express that outwardly, because fire gives me confidence. So I'm more likely to be kind of like out in the world and sharing and taking action on things, initiating things when the moon is in a fire sign. And I'm more supported in doing those kinds of things because that's where the moon is in, right? So when the moon is in an air sign, in Gemini, which it is in right now, Libra or Aquarius, I am more likely to be supported in writing, or doing a live like this is supported in an air sign because I'm talking, I'm communicating. So any kind of expression as it relates to words or thinking or even strategy, that's probably a good time to be in when the moon is in an air sign, to be doing those things. And then when the moon is in an earth sign, Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus, I'm more likely to be either like integrating or implementing these strategic pieces. So action is definitely supported with earth. Also kind of more of the like technical aspects, so like the more detail oriented things I'm more likely to focus on during when the moon is in an earth sign. So for example, like when the moon is in Virgo, I like to work on my finances because I'm supported in having the time and the space to be in that energy of looking at little details, where like if I tried to do it now when the moon is in Gemini, it would take me a lot of energy to motivate me to just sit down and be looking at that stuff. So I'm more supported if I wait until the moon is in an earth sign to look at those kinds of tasks. So that's pretty much the gist of it. The moon is kind of like my main source that I follow. But also you can look at where the sun is at, you can look at where Mercury is at, you can look at where Venus is at, Mars. All of the planets are going to be telling you something about the current astrological landscape and how it's affecting you. And this is when we talk about Mercury going retrograde, how is that affected? That all has to do with astrology and how it plays out in our day-to-day. And you can relate that to your business and your brand. And so for that, the way I track where the planets are at is this app called Time Passages. It's a really awesome app that you can actually put in your birth information, and it gives you a detailed horoscope of where your chart information is aspecting in relation to like where the planets are at right now. So for example, you can not only see where the moon, what sign the moon is in right now, but you can see like where like if the moon is aspecting any part of your natal birth chart. So like if the moon is in harmony with your natal moon or your natal Venus, or if it's in opposition, or if it's squaring and things like that. And you can actually see like descriptions of what that means, because, you know, who knows what moon opposition Venus really means in regular non-astro people world. So that is very helpful. I am constantly checking to see where the moon is at, and usually I sometimes will play this game where I'm like feeling a certain way, and then I'll like check the app and be like, oh yeah, yeah, that's because the moon is in X, so that's why I'm feeling this way. So you can use it to really check in with your own intuition as well. Like if you are feeling a certain way, and you're having trouble trusting that, like you can use astrology to help you kind of justify those feelings in a way. You know, because like when we have a new moon coming up in Cancer, and so the sun is also in Cancer, so we may be feeling a little bit more tender this week, and we may need to take some extra time for ourselves to really take care of ourselves. And that is an easy way that you can use astrology to support you in your branding and your business, is simply by taking those cues of what the planets in each of the signs are asking you to do at this time. And this it's a really awesome way to kind of play around in your business, and I use it with my clients as well, with my brand coaching clients who are in my 6-week program. I'm always have their chart open when we're in a session together, and you would be surprised at how exquisitely it kind of lines things up. Like one of my clients was talking about how she really likes to take her time with her process, and she really likes to, you know, go at her own pace and kind of really just allow the process to unfold in a way that is really comfortable, and in a way that is, you know, kind of organic. And when I was looking at her chart while she was telling me this, I saw that her Saturn is in Taurus in the 10th house. So it makes perfect sense that her process for setting up a structure in her business needs to be at her own pace. It needs to be at a comfortable pace. It needs to be organic, because that's what Taurus is all about, right? So it actually affirms, you know, kind of your way of doing things that are true for you, because they were designed that way in your chart. So it's really cool. It's really been a fun aspect that I've brought into the work that I do with my clients. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, or you want to go more, or you want to go deeper, you want to know more, let me know. I am available to expand on any of this. I love talking about astrology and how I use it, so I am game. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. I'm really curious to know where you are at in terms of your knowledge of astrology, if you use it regularly, how you use it, and what else you want to know. So let me know. I'm here for you. And I hope that some of you can catch the replay of this video so you can get to know a little bit more about astrology and how to use it for your brand and for your business. I will talk to you guys super soon. Bye.